Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus podcast, the show where we talk the Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And join the chat if you're a subber there and share your theories. Just go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. Check it out over there. If you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. And go over to YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day, Monday at 12 noon Eastern, where it's posted up there. You can give it a watch, give it a listen, and let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments. And we'll talk about them the following week. But yes, today we're continuing our chat about Loki. We're talking episode 3 titled Lamentis. So, we've had, obviously, the previous 2 episodes, we've had a lot going on with Loki himself, and now Lady Loki, as we have learned about. We're going to dive more into it today with her backstory, what's going on with her, trying to figure out her plan. But kind of, filler sounds like a bad term, but kind of a slower build in this episode. For like info, we get the info, but not a lot like happens. I don't know if it's the right way to phrase it, but it seems like this was a slower point. And granted, the other 2 series we've had so far, WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, have had these lulls at the same episode point, 3 and 4. So we have that. So this one might be a quicker one, but as usual, we'll go through the summary best we can, and we'll talk about our thoughts and theories as we're going through. So, for the cold opening of this episode, we get a kind of fancy music opening. We see the guard that we saw from last episode. We see her in a restaurant with Lady Loki. Very confusing. I assumed this was a flashback, but as we'll learn, it is not. We kind of get, we see that Lady Loki, what happened with this guard when she possessed her or enchanted her to kind of take control. And we see that this is an illusion that Lady Loki is using on the guard to kind of pry information from her about the timekeepers and where they are, where they're located, etc. So we learn as the audience, as well as Lady Loki, that the timekeepers are in the city, and they're at golden elevators. Golden elevators they are located at. You just go right to the top, and that will lead you to them. So that's a cold opening we get. We get the title, and we'll cut back to, I guess, real-time action. So last we saw at episode 2, we saw Loki obviously go through the time door that Lady Loki had spawned to leave. So we see them both appear in the TVA facility. Obviously, Lady Loki is trying to find, use the information she found out of the golden elevators and find the timekeepers and deal with them. They run into some guards. No surprise there, trying to deal with them. Lady Loki, the variant, is surprised that her magic does not work here. So clearly she has not been here before, or if she has, it's been a long time. Because I assumed all the variants had gone there, as we saw with this opening, or the opening of this series, like the whole take a number, get the whole process done. But she's surprised that the magic doesn't work here for herself. And then we also see Loki has his knives. I don't recall him getting those back from the other head of security guard, but he had them, so that was odd. Just a little observation there. So in short, or with short work, they find the elevators, the golden elevators that they're going to take. But then we see the judge woman. I don't know a lot of character names in here, but we see her appear along with some more guards. We get low battery on the door, teledoor, time door maker thing, and they have to make their escape. Unfortunately, they cannot go through the elevators at this time. Traveling through the door, they end up in 2077, and they land on a planet called Lamentis 1. So it's another apocalypse event that they're going to hide in to kind of, be able to make a plan to how they're going to go forward from here. So the apocalypse event that's going on Lamentis 1 is a big meteor shower that will destroy the planet and obviously cause chaos and destruction. So, during this time, we learn a whole lot about Lady Loki and what's going on here. And along with that, we kind of get more. We talked about it last week how the internet has a theory that this is actually the Enchantress from Marvel Comics and not Lady Loki or a variant of him. We keep getting more hints of it. There's a couple things of dialogue that have happened so far leading up to this point and will happen shortly after. Loki asking, "Are you sure you're a Loki?" Lady Loki saying, "Don't ever call me that." Let's see, what else was there? "Don't call me a variant." And "enchant me" was specifically said. So we're getting more evidence of, like I said, either her being Enchantress or her not being a variant, just with her terminology and like defending of herself, it seems, with this. So apparently this plan for the golden elevators has been in works for years. So that's fun that she got right there, and then obviously it could not work out. She mentions that she's not a Loki anymore, and that her name is Sylvie. So now I can stop saying Lady Loki 800 times. So Sylvie has revealed her identity. In the current event that we have with Lamentis 1, it's 12 hours until the whole meteor storm and the whole thing concludes. So they're trying to figure out how they can move forward from here. Their time door thing, like I said, had a low battery, so they are not able to use that anymore. So they're trying to figure out how they can get off this planet before shit hits the fan. They learn through some villagers that there's something called the Ark, which is pretty much a ship that's going to be taking off of the planet and bringing those people to safety, an evacuation vessel. So we learn about that. We also learn that the villagers themselves are very frustrated with this because obviously, they know shit is going down. But it seems like the higher class is going on the ship, and there's a lot of people that are not making it. So Sylvie and Loki are trying to figure out how to get to the Ark and get off this planet and hopefully figure out how to save themselves from there and continue on to their plan. With this, they managed to sneak onto a train from whatever smaller town that they're in to go to the main city to get onto the Ark. So this train ride, we have them share a lot of information. They were able to get onto this train with Loki disguising himself as one of the guards to transport Sylvie on there and sneak past. So through all of this going on with the train, one thing that's brought up is magic. Magic is brought up. I had a little curious thought as the show was going on with this. I'm wondering, with them stating the magic thing again, I wonder if this will somehow tie into Doctor Strange in some way, because obviously he is Sorcerer Supreme. Well, I don't know if he's actually Sorcerer Supreme, but he's trained in magic for a while. So I wonder if we're going to tie it into Doctor Strange, eventually. Because we know that, I'm pretty sure, I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we had seen another member of the magic, practice. I don't know what they call themselves, but I think it was Sylvester Stallone's group. One of them had the sling ring to, teleport them with the magic. So I'm just curious if that will kind of tie in from there. So more information we get from here. We get a little fun fact. Loki is confirmed bi. So cool little fun fact there, like I mentioned. Along with this, as they're traveling, they kind of share stories about their parents, which was interesting. I think we brought up Odin, obviously. We brought up Mom, which taught Loki the magic. I don't know if we brought up Loki, the ice giant. Can't remember that. It's been a little while. But we get some talks about that. Sylvie ends up taking a nap on the trip, wakes up to Loki partying at the bar, and singing, I think, some kind of Asgardian song. He's having a great time. He's partying it up. We get a little fun Thor 1 reference of another drink and smashing it on the ground. So just a little cheeky Easter egg right there. So we get that. With the chaos that Loki is now causing, unfortunately, with this party, he is causing disruption and getting more attention on him and Sylvie than they originally intended. They were going to lay low. So we now have some guards showing up. So the two fight them. Let's see. Yeah, so they're attempted to be taken by the guards. They just fight back, obviously. We see Sylvie using her helmet in the fight, which is kind of cool. And they escape out a window, but luckily have made it far enough into town that they're good to go. However, through all this hustle and bustle and the fighting, the tempad, which is the thing that they use to kind of get the time doors to pop up, is now busted completely. So we already knew it was low battery, but now it's completely busted, so fuck. We don't have that alternative to use. So now that we're in the main town, they're going to try and make their way to the Ark to hopefully escape. With this, Loki's really focused on, obviously, let's make it. Sylvie points out that the Ark never leaves because it's destroyed in this event. So by doing this event of having the Ark, make it, it's going to create another split off the main timeline. Not the glorious timeline, but the sacred timeline. That's what it was called. And we get the glorious purpose term brought up once again. So, changing the timeline. Their plan is to change the timeline to have the Ark to leave. So, we have a little time in between now to get some more information about Sylvie. And we learn about her enchanting powers. Loki asks how she does it. Has to be physical contact, and she will grab hold of their mind for an enchantment to work. So grab hold of physical contact and grab hold. Yeah, she'll need the physical contact, and then she can grasp the mind, and then for the control to work for her, and she can use that from there. And as we saw, obviously, she can delve into their memories and kind of get information, if she wants to, from them. We also learned probably the biggest thing, maybe second biggest, to come from this episode. Loki's asking about the guard a little bit, trying to figure out how she knew the extra information that Sylvia shared. She reveals that the guard was a regular person on Earth before working at the TVA. Now, this is a giant red flag because Mobius. The agent, Owen Wilson, discussed with Loki that everybody had just been there, or at least from what he knew, everybody was just spawned. Yeah, Morpheus from the Matrix had just spawned in the TVA. They were created for the TVA, they are the TVA. That was their thing. That was their whole purpose. Turns out that with them being regular agents or regular people, there's also a chance that a lot of them are variants themselves. So everybody working at the TVA is a variant. So including the guard that she talked to, that was a variant that was a regular person on Earth, that this variant, and we moved him over here. So Owen Wilson's character is a variant. The judge lady is a variant. As far as we know as the audience, every one of them is a variant. So this brings a lot of things into question about the TVA that we thought were true earlier in the series with episode 1 of this means the Infinity Stones don't mean jack shit, and they're the ultimate power. Does that cut the knees off from Eternals and stuff like that? The TVA now is falling apart in this power structure that we, and as the audience and Loki, see. It's not this all powerful thing. Obviously they have some power because they are fixing events and timelines, etc., etc. They're still working on that, but they're not this cerebral being that we once thought they were. So a big drop of info there of what's going on. So after we learn all this info, we get to the final act. It's 5 minutes to launch of the Ark. There's riots going on to let people on. Like I said, it seems like the higher class is being let on, but not everybody. They got to fit who they can, but obviously it's being unfair. So there's a lot of riots going on. The planet is blowing up, and everything's crashing going on as meteorites are falling. Sylvie and Loki are trying to make it to the Ark, trying to get on there. They're running into guard after guard after guard, defending themselves, fighting them off, trying to proceed. They're getting closer to the Ark, closer to the Ark, closer to the Ark, and we just see this big meteor, blah, just plummet through the Ark, blowing it up immediately. Unfortunately, they cannot change the events of the apocalyptic event. This event still transpired. We couldn't veer that off. So now, what do we do? And the episode ends right there with the blowing up of this ship. So that was a rough summary of episode 3 and how that went down. Like I said, a lot of info, but felt like a slower episode than like what we've been doing with the previous 2. Obviously, we did get the big info points of like Sylvie being her identity, and then the TVA agents all being variants and not being just this thing created. And then lastly, obviously, now they're stuck. Like, we don't have the door. We do have Loki's magic. I don't know if that would help in any way, shape, or form. But we're really in trouble here. I don't know the exact timing. We mentioned this 12 hours when they first got there till the planet blew up. I don't know when the ship launched and how much time is left, but they are stuck there, and we got to figure out a way off. And with it, also this episode, it was strictly Sylvie and Loki. We didn't get any Mobius stuff. We didn't get any, I don't know if there's really any other characters. We didn't get follow-up with the judge. We didn't follow up with the head of security lady. Like, it was just them. No teasers about, like, the timekeepers are all. Maybe they're poking around. Nothing there yet. I think we talked about it in one of the previous episodes. We probably won't see anything until maybe episode 6. Maybe that'll be the last big cliffhanger, similar to, what we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier with the Power Broker situation, and what we saw in WandaVision with the Skrull situation. So, yeah, well, focused on them. So we get the information about them, but I felt like it was a slower episode. So what do we do with this TVA variant information? Now we got to start rethinking everything we thought we knew, which we didn't know much, from episode 1 and 2 of, like, this power struggle, like I mentioned earlier. Who are the timekeepers? Are they just really powerful variants that have somehow made it through? And that's a interesting thought to think of. So obviously we're following Loki right here now. He's got the powers. Hypothetically, these timekeepers, I assume there's 3 of them because we've seen the 3 different statues. Are they just powerful people in whatever timeline they came from, and like that's how they kind of rose to power to be the timekeepers, essentially? We have a lot of rumors flying around of Kang being involved here. I know he's confirmed casted, but I don't know when he officially shows up first. I think there's talks of maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Realm, or Quantum Mania, excuse me. But I don't know. In the comics, Kang has been the time traveler from the future to come back and cause shit. So there's rumors of that would make sense. If it is 3 people, I don't know who the other 2 could be. But it's an interesting thing to think about, of like, okay, maybe they're in charge because they were already powerful. So like Kang was powerful in whatever timeline he originally was from, and then decided to use that power as is. Like, why Loki could possibly make this charge and stand towards the timekeeper, similar to how Sylvie's kind of sticking around too. Like, she hasn't been caught yet. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. Does this bring back the Infinity Stones at all in legitimacy? That's hard to say, because with us questioning the legitimacy of the TVA now, you gotta assume end of this series, Sylvie and Loki will get to them, or like it's gonna fall apart. So we assume the multiverse is gonna happen, right? They're not gonna be able to fix it. Like, man, this just makes my brain hurt of trying to figure out like how to word this and how to make this make sense. Because like if the TVA isn't there, like how do variants spawn? And then like what happens to all the other variants? If that makes sense. Like there's a lot of timeline trouble here. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out once this is done. And maybe TVA does stick around. Maybe they have like some heart-to-heart talk at the end where everything's cool. Who knows? But if it's fake and this is just like an overarching power struggle enemy to deal with, yeah, how do we explain all the other variants? Like we saw in a last episode, like obviously before we learn about Sylvie's true identity, like we saw all these different Lokis, like big Loki, like different Lokis of appearance, different Lokis of occupation, for lack of a better term. Like, is it just a matter of like each individual timeline, multiverse, whatever we want to think about, like things just happen to be different? Like obviously in the comics we have the multiverse with the Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the easiest one I can use just because I know that one the best, and I don't even know it that well. Like obviously we got Miles being Spider-Man in one timeline. We have Peter being Spider-Man in another one, and then Gwen and all the other Spider personas doing their thing. Is it just a matter of like how do you introduce them from there? Because obviously without the TVA there, the technology to go from timeline to timeline wouldn't exist. So that's a big question. And maybe that's something they'll answer in Doctor Strange. Like maybe it's a magic route that they take. And if so, why are they taking that route? Is it more of like we need X resource, so we'll go to this timeline that has resource, and then that's where the crossover happens? It might be. Obviously, that's how we kind of got the Loki variant. Obviously now, just it was time and not different multiverses. So maybe. Still making my brain hurt of how to properly like put everything together thought-wise to ask how it will work. But yeah, it seems weird to say it, but it was easier when the TVA was this all-powerful thing of like we control things and keep things in line. Which, like I said, it could still be that way, but now learning that they're all variants just makes it like that much more confusing. I don't know if it's just like a big, like all the fuck-ups of all the timelines go here, and then they figure out how to... They're making like their own society of all the mishaps, quote unquote. It's kind of like oh crap, what was that thing in Rudolph? The land of misfit toys. Is that what the TVA is? Just every mess up come here, and like if they comply or like they have some kind of value, then they can use them in the TVA, and if not, then it's the zip zap, you're gone. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's all it is. It's weird to think about. Hopefully in episode 4 we can get a little bit more footing and understanding of what's going on. It's definitely not going to be an easy solution, or at least nothing I can think of that's an easy solution. But hopefully we can get that filler information there. Not, necessarily everything, but just something to kind of be like, okay, now we got that. And I don't know if maybe next episode will focus more on Owen Wilson's character, Agent Mobius, or it will just focus on Loki and Sylvie trying to get off the planet of Lamentis. Who knows? Something that might be funny, since we're mentioning different variants, is maybe another variant of Loki or Sylvie will come to their aid. Like they'll bring the time door and be like, hey, you guys are fucked. Come with us. I don't know how it's going to work out. Mobius would probably be the easiest one. Like, oh, we located them here. I don't know how they would have pinpointed that necessarily with it being an apocalyptic event, but obviously they already did it before with episode 2 with the what was it, the volcano? No, I don't know. The volcano they used for evidence to test the theory, and then they found her with the hurricane. They pinpointed with the hurricane. So obviously they've done it before, so they could do it again. So maybe it'll just be as simple as that, as they get recaptured or attempted to be recaptured, and then go from there. Yeah, interesting show. Makes your brain hurt. No, it makes my brain hurt. But I hope you guys are still enjoying the show, even if there's a lot of questions up in the air. I'm excited to watch more of it. Obviously, we got episode 4 dropping soon. We're already halfway through this show, which is nuts. And I feel like we have just as many questions as WandaVision, which I love, because obviously there's a lot to talk about and think about. But man, it's gonna be interesting this back half of the series. Like, obviously explaining everything, but not rushing it, that it just doesn't add up at all, which Marvel has done a good job with. Like, there's still questions of, like, where does X character go from here? But I think everything in that specific story they're trying to tell, that all wraps up nicely. So I'm sure, I have faith that they'll be able to do it from here. It's just going to be interesting to see how all the puzzle pieces kind of fall in line from here as we continue the series and wrap it up with the next 3 episodes. But yeah, this has been another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and you guys can catch this live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're a sub over there, you can join in the chat, join in on the conversation. Let me know your thoughts, theories, all that fun stuff about Loki, and we'll chat it up. If you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. You can go to YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day at 12 noon Eastern, where it drops. You can watch it, give it a listen, and let me know in the comments down below what you think as well, and we'll talk about it on the very next episode. But yeah, I hope you guys are still enjoying the series. I'm enjoying trying to figure out what's going on. We're trying to keep at least everything in line. It's not as easy as I thought it would be, but, you know, that's the fun of it, right? Trying to figure it all out and piece it together. But it's been a fun ride. I'm excited, like I said, for the back half of this show, see where it goes from here. I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys giving it a listen, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.